Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Chris Miles, a cashflow investor and financial educator, and the founder of Money Ripples, a company dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and professionals create passive income, financial resilience, and long-term freedom, now, not decades down the line. Chris challenges the traditional save for retirement and hope model, instead focuses on cash flow, smart investing, and intentional financial strategy, helping people stop living for today and start living with options. Helping people stop living from someday and start living with options today. Chris, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here, Olivia.
It's awesome. I'm very excited to dive in and learn more about your journey. So, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So, if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Money Ripples, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, beforehand, I was actually planning to become a business consultant. So I was a sociology major in college with a triple minor in psychology, Japanese, and ballroom dancing, because
Ah,
that's just kind of the fun stuff I like to do, right?
yeah.
But I wanted to become a business consultant. I want to be like the guy from the movie Office Space. If you ever saw that movie about the Bobs, they came in trying to fix the company. I want to be that guy. Go in, fix the company, walk out with a big check. But I figured if I'm going to do that, I should have real life business experience and not just come out with like a business degree. So I dropped out of college, took a little sabbatical. I said, all right, let's just find some business to start. And the first business that came up that intrigued me was becoming a financial advisor of sorts, right? Like the traditional salesman in a suit, tell
Hmm.
you to set it and forget it, save it forever, and hopefully someday you'll have something, right? And I was doing that, and I love being an entrepreneur so much. I never finished my degree in college. I actually had one paper to write, not even a thesis. It was actually to publish my thesis into a journal, and I've been done. I didn't do it. I just stayed dropped out. So I joined the ranks of guys like Steve Jobs, stayed as a dropped out entrepreneur, and kept going in business. Now, 4 years into that business, my dad, who recently just passed away in December of this last year, my dad reached out and says, "Hey, Chris, when are you going to advise me?" So I sat down with him, um, saw his money for the first time in my life. He was 61 years old. He says, "Chris, I've already had heart attacks, strokes. The stress from this job will literally kill me. What do I do? How do I retire?" And I looked at all of his money. And this guy was like the penny pinching saver, the guy that did everything right. I mean, he paid off all of his debt. He was stuffing money in his company plan. And I had to tell him, I said, "Dad, here's the deal. If you try to retire today, you'll probably have to die in about 5 or 6 years because that's when you'll run out of money." Said, "Well, that's not what I wanted to hear. What do I do?" And I had no answer for him. I said, "You did everything right. I don't know. In fact, I'm on the same path as you. I'm saving stuff and doing the same thing you taught me to do. I'm teaching as a financial advisor and telling everybody else to do it too." And then it was just a month later, a friend of mine, that I had trained to be a financial advisor, but left to go do real estate investing. He said, "Well, Chris, how many of your clients are financially free where they don't worry about money?" I said, "Well, none." "Okay, well, how about this? How many of you guys as financial advisors are financially free where they actually are financially free off the investments, not off the commissions, not off the
Hmm.
business?" I said, "Well, I've seen guys working here since the 1970s, so probably none. There's your problem." And I actually started in 2006 on this journey, got into real estate investing. Actually was able to retire when I was 28 years old, where I had enough passive income coming in that I didn't have to keep working anymore. Vowed never to teach about money again, funny enough. And then just went on that path. In 2007, though, because I was bored out of my mind, because being a 28-year-old at that time, I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do with my life? Like I have so much more life ahead of me. It's boring. What do I do? And that's when I started going into coaching. And I started a company called Freedom Fast Track that later became Wealth Factory. And then back in 2012, I launched Money Ripples, teach people how to do what I actually did.
Awesome. I really love it. And you're in a great group of people for having to just finish one paper before you completely finish college, which is really cool. And then setting yourself up from there. And I feel like I love the story with your dad as well, but I feel like it's something that a lot of people kind of find themselves in that situation. They do get to that age, they get to where they think it's close to retiring. They look at their finances and go, surely this can't be it. This can't be all my life's work and what's going on. But I
Mhm.
love the fact that you're now putting your knowledge to good use and helping other people do the same thing and just having that nice, comfortable financial situation because I know money doesn't equal happiness, but it sure as hell helps with comfort, which then obviously leads to the prospect of a little bit more happiness. So let's
Yeah.
dive into money ripples a little bit more then. So walk me through, who would you say at this point like is your ideal customer? Like who do you really, really love to work with? And then from there, how is you help them and how do you support them along that journey?
Yeah, the people I work with, they often tend to be Gen Xers or older millennials,
Okay.
people that are kind of, like you said, at that point saying, wait a minute, is this working? Like, is this really right? Should I be doing something different or better? Because the vast majority of people aren't financially free, right? And even when they do try to quote unquote retire, they're living on a tight, strict budget. And they have the same fear my dad had, which is I hope I don't run out of money before I die. In fact, he literally had that fear and had run out of money before he died. I had to financially support him. I know if you're like me, you don't want to be the person that everybody has to take care of, right? You want to be independent. You want to be able to be self-sufficient. You don't want to be a burden on other people. You want to actually be
Mm.
somebody who actually supports themselves, is free, and not just gets rich with your money, but is able to create a rich life where you're able to create a ripple effect by blessing others' lives around you instead of having other people take care of you. And of course, those people are people that usually have saved really well. They've been good savers. And then they say, well, there should be something more. Well, I don't want to become another statistic, the majority of people that just don't have enough money to really do anything. And those are our ideal clients.
Awesome. So then what is it like to work with you, Chris? So walk me through that journey if I was to onboard now with you as a client, like what does that look like?
Yeah, we actually work with people one on one.
Amazing.
I've seen everybody that does programs like you can do online programs, which is fine,
Mm.
right? But the DIY stuff, especially in this space, is really tough, right? Because people are guessing. And the number one question I get from people is, okay, Chris, well, if not the stock market, then where? Because I'm
Yeah.
giving them an alternative to Wall Street, right? Which is there's this whole other world of alternative investments. You can invest in the actual businesses. You can invest in real estate, real assets, right? Not this fake stuff that goes up or down depending on what, Nvidia decides to be worth that day, right? Because that's the thing that we always deal with. And so people are like, well, how do I really do it? We work with people one on one to help them create an actual blueprint. We call it a work optional blueprint, where you have enough passive income to work because you want to, not because you have to, and have to get you there step by step to where most people get there usually within 5 to 10 years or so.
Awesome. So it's a very tailored approach to people, which I really enjoy. As you said, kind of in that field, in the financial field, it's very much it's a kind of me assuming a lot, but it is more of a cookie cutter approach when you come to it because it's like if you put these steps in place, you do this equals X. So it's really nice that you actually take that, you tailor the time, it's a one-to-one approach. Now, is there any form of like mindset shift as well that comes with this? Because that is also a block when it comes to that financial freedom that people seek. Is that kind of something you help with as well? Like just on the
Oh,
back of that?
absolutely. It's funny. Most people think the hardest part is actually just doing the strategy. But if
Yeah.
you change the mindset, the strategy is really easy. But you have to get away from the mindset, all the brainwashing that Wall Street and all these financial advisors have done for us, right? They've taught us for years that we should just put money with them. What's
Mm.
interesting though is they get paid whether you make money or not. Tell me where that's ethical in any line of business, any line of work, right? I think that's ridiculous. And so we actually get them away from that kind of thing. So yeah, you have to shift your mind away from what you've been taught. The whole set it and forget it, and you just keep saving and accumulating money, and you hope that compounding interest will save you. And if you're just debt free and you live cheap enough throughout your life, then finally you'll have some sort of weird freedom after being so cheap forever. And that's just not the case, right? So we have to get them shifted away from being cheap to being free, right? To
Mm.
not just trying to not run out of money, but actually have more than enough money coming in all the time. Go away from accumulating money and saving money to also this place of income. So
Yeah.
ideally, so real, when I say this, real investment passive income, right? Not like the passive income you always hear. That's a buzzword out there that really is nothing but passive because you're trying to start a brand new business from scratch, right? That's not this at all. This is literally getting your money to do the work with other people doing the work, right? So there's other investors investing your money while you're able to do that. And that's not found through financial advisors. It's not found on Wall Street. That's something you can find privately and
Yeah.
make a lot more money doing it too.
Awesome. I actually like the way you said it earlier, where it's like making yourself have a rich life. Such a
Hmm.
way, good way to put it, because that's what it is. It's comfortable for your lifestyle. It's making your life rich in however you want that to be.
Yeah.
I do want to get into the nuts and bolts a little bit of the business as well. So, like when it comes to marketing and sales, like how are you going about finding the right people to work with? So, like when it comes to like channels, maybe funnels, like what are you finding most effective in really finding that right client to work with?
Yeah, we're about 99% organic traffic. So organic through social media, organic, especially through YouTube, things like that. Our podcasts, even on platforms like Spotify, iTunes, whatever. Our podcast, I've had my podcast, the Money Ripples podcast, now for nearly 12 years. And so we're over 1,000 episodes in. And that's where our most faithful listeners come and find us, but then
Yeah.
also end up becoming our clients too, because they realize they actually understand that perspective shift they need to have. So it's easier for them to make that leap and be able to really make the adjustment to create a life of freedom versus a life of bondage. And so that's where really, like I said, most of it all comes from just our podcasts as well as social media.
Love it. And very long form content as well. I know she mentioned their YouTube, which is amazing. And I feel like as a lead gen platform, if someone's listening or watching or hearing your voice for like more than 10 minutes, they're already kind of halfway there and they understand your thesis, understand kind of what's going on and the way you work. So it's a really nice approach to that. And would you ever consider, or like, I suppose as you look forward, maybe adding on some form of paid ads or like increasing the outreach you have online, or are you very happy with like the momentum that you're getting with the organic at the moment?
Yeah, we're actually transitioning to that into 2026, doing that a
Okay.
little bit more aggressively. We've tried it on and off and just haven't had success to this point. Just because, most of the stuff, what it is, when you see ads, most of the stuff you click on is just clickbaity anyways. So people have lacked trust in it. And like you said, like the biggest thing is trying to get people to realize that of all the noise out there, we're actually the real deal. Like
Mm,
I think the one thing that sets us apart is that we actually get results. People
yeah.
become kind of skeptical. They're like, wait a minute, how do you have like this 5-star reviews? How do you have all these people? Well, because we screen out the people that wouldn't be successful in our program. We don't just try to get people in because they can pay us. We only get the people in that we know will succeed. Otherwise, it's
Mhm.
not worth my time and effort. The truth is, I have enough passive income. I don't need this anyways, right? Like this is actually probably more work as a founder, and you know this. I mean, being a founder is stressful, right? It's not easy at all. Like you have to be a little bit crazy to do this kind of thing. If it
Very.
weren't for the fact that I'm literally trying to, in a sense, kind of rescue people from the brainwashing that's been done out there, especially in the financial world, like I would have just said, let somebody else do it. But there's a whole generation of people like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, the guy's in his 70s. He's not going to be on this earth much longer. There's got to be somebody that really pass on this torch to get people to actually do the real thing and not just be talking big talk or influencers. I even had somebody on my show recently that she's an influencer in the financial space. I thought this is great. Let's see what she has to say. And then as we are talking off the air, I found out she's never even experienced financial freedom before, but she's teaching people how to do it. Right.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I hope to be where you are, Chris. I'm like, this is sad. Like you've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, and yet people are just blindly following you for something you've never even proven yourself. Right. And I've had to do it twice in my life, so that's the thing is like, I really want people to get that. And that's the hard thing that paid ads don't do. But our strategy definitely going in is more of that email marketing. We actually found out our email campaigns, people weren't seeing them like, cause we had changed to a new email provider. And then all of a
Gotcha.
sudden, like, because you didn't warm up the list just the right way,
Yeah.
we got down to like 5% open rate, 5 to 10%. I mean, so we used to have much bigger open rate, which led to also more organic traffic, which of course costs you virtually nothing, right? So,
Hmm.
so there's a lot of things we're trying to fix on that side to make sure that organic is humming, and then move to
No.
paid ads to help draw
Yeah.
people, bring them to the podcast, wherever it might be.
Awesome. So really just nailing the systems, nailing that back end and just kind of get the machine on a steady roll so you have nice and consistent lead flow, which is really cool. And
Exactly.
ads will just add to that. It'll just make the whole thing a nice bubble. Um, and then even to mention the point there, like as you say, within the field, within the sets, like we've touched on it a few times, it is that cookie cutter approach. My accent struggles with that saying. It's a very so it is that like as you say, what's making you guys stand out and getting that message across with your marketing will be the essence of trust. The podcast is 10 years strong. So it is that we've got the testimonials, we have those people and we know what we're doing, we walk the walk. I don't need this as my life. As you say, we help people we want to help, we can work the people we choose with. And just building that know, like, and trust, you've got a great platform to do that from already. So just winding it all in is really cool. And then I suppose now we're touched on the plans for the future. Let's move on to it. So like within the next 6 to 12 months, what are your plans to scale? Like, what do you see that vision and where do you see kind of the company growing over the next
Yeah,
year?
we really did hit kind of a plateau of sorts, with the organic side, and that's why we're going to paid ads. That is
Yeah.
really the focus for the next 6 to 12 months. Moving to paid ads, but doing it in a way that really looks different. That doesn't look like the thing.
Mm.
Um, and that's what we're really testing out. Is like see what does work, what lands with people, especially with the right people. You want to make sure you're attracting the right people, or Gen Xers to older millennials that are saying, hey, like I'm willing to turn my brain on. I'm not willing to be a lemming and just blindly follow the masses who are broke, right? So
Yeah.
what do I do differently? Those are the people we're calling out.
Awesome. And I suppose, can you share maybe a little bit of the tactics you're trying or any of the approach that you're doing? Are you happy to do that? Or is that more kind of under wraps, ready to go for the next year?
We're experimenting with it. There's a few things. I actually did made two different types of movies of sort or like short movies.
Okay.
One was very documentary style. Actually hired a Hollywood director that did a movie with Kevin Costner and Nicolas Cage. So we hired a
Cool.
Hollywood director to make a 20-minute, almost like a documentary type thing. And then we also did a 6 minute, almost like, and plus I have a 1 minute version as well of the
Nice.
long commercial that we did that played actually on Fox News and other stations like that. So we're going to test those out to see what works. Interesting thing I learned from if you ever heard of Robert Cialdini, he's the guy that wrote the
Mhm.
books Influence, Persuasion, great books if you haven't got them, especially for marketing. He talks about how there are different phases depending on what somebody does. They've done studies where, for example, if somebody watches a scary movie, think Halloween, right? Somebody watches a scary movie, they actually that right afterwards they want to seek safety. So they actually look for safety in numbers because when people are scared, they want to go with the crowd.
Yeah.
But when it's romantic movies that they watch, they actually don't want to be in the numbers. They don't want to be the masses. They want to stand out because when you're in love, if you're the suitor, right, you want to be the one that stands out. You want to be the one and only for the love, right? So we're actually testing that out to see, hey, now we're moving on to Valentine's Day. You know, maybe we should move into the movie that focuses more on the standing out part versus
Mm,
the falling in, the safety and everything else, right? So that's one thing we're kind of testing to see if that really does land.
cool. I
We'll
like
see.
it. Yeah, it's like the psychology behind that is really kind of playing along that lines, but I suppose marketing. And then I suppose where are you finding the biggest challenge for yourself at the moment, Chris, in like taking that next step in the business and maybe moving forward?
The biggest challenge is off, I think, within myself, to be honest. I mean, every company that has to grow, the founder has to grow too,
Yeah.
right? Like often the company is limited by the founder's own growth. For me, I've had to put in new people in place, replace people, which a hard thing to do as a founder is trying to let people go or move on and trying to find that. So for me, that's the biggest challenge is dealing with almost like this newer team or newer dynamic of leadership within my team and of course moving to this whole new really unexplored territory with advertising and ads and things like that. So for me, I think that's the biggest kind of the scariest thing a little bit is having to grow myself and open up to different possibilities than what I've been
Yeah.
doing for the last couple decades.
Nice. But I suppose taking it all in your stride is part of the game as well. As being a founder, it is that we have to wear it on our sleeve and just kind of run to the hills. But
Mhm.
Chris, I have one final question to ask you before we log out. So if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
Don't focus on how to make money. You know, everybody tries to say, well, how do I make more money, especially as business owners? Horrible question to ask is unproductive and never works. Instead, start asking, how do I create more value? How do I solve problems? How do I serve people in a way that money is just the natural byproduct or result of that exchange? If I would have learned that from day one, even when I was a financial advisor, things would have gone so much more easily. I would have been in a more abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. And I would have realized that making money in business is formulaic. It's literally just a result of how do you go about delivering value for people. If you don't have a money problem, you have a value problem. Figure out how do you deliver more value, serve more people, and solve the problems that people are asking for right now. And if you can do it in a unique way that no one else can, you've got something that's unique for the marketplace.
I love it. And as you say, like it is that having that problem to solve. That's how you make money. Everything else will fall through. And Chris, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
Yeah, follow Money Ripples. What is the Money Ripples podcast, moneyripples.com or Money Ripples at Money Ripples on social media.
Amazing. Money Ripples is making ripples. Very cool. And
That's right.
Chris, thank you again for joining us. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go and check out Chris and Money Ripples. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future by wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing, and we will see you on the next one.